I am from Texas A&M. I came out of College Station to do some well programs out here in the greater West Texas area this week. I started in Fredericksburg on Monday. I was in Fort Stockton yesterday, or the day before, both. And then came here to Pigg to do a couple of water samples, and I've got samples incubating in Alpine right now. I'm doing a 4-hour program on water wells with the Alpine, Brewster County, Presidio County, Jeff Davis, Culberson, Terrell, so a few counties in a little bit further west than what y'all are tomorrow. So, just probably preaching to the choir on a lot of this stuff, but just some of the basic information about my program. Over 1 million private water wells across the state of Texas. About 2.2 million people in rural areas living on small acreages, rely on private wells as their primary drinking supply. About 10% of the total population of the state and 20% of the population living outside of city limits drink well water. 2 to 50% of the population that has those wells, the nitrate levels or the maximum contaminant level of nitrates is above drinking water standards. Anybody know what the drinking water standards on nitrates is? 10 parts per million. Okay, so the samples I did out here, I think I've seen 2 or 3 samples, not very many that are above nitrate or above that MCL for nitrates. 2 weeks ago, I was in the Rolling Plains. Everybody knows where Vernon's at. So I was a little bit south of Vernon, and we were off the charts on nitrate levels. So with all the row cropping going on up there, the dairies and different things going on. Okay, in Texas, household well is exempt from water quality regulations, including exemption from water quality monitoring to ensure the water is safe to drink. Groundwater pollution can be prevented. It is you, the well owner, that is responsible for protecting that safe drinking water. Okay, as a well owner, do we want TCEQ to come on our property to see if we are up to drinking water standards? Are you going to allow TCEQ to come onto your property to check for those drinking water standards? Probably not. We don't want those guys. We don't want any more regulation than we've got. That's where my program comes in. I'm the coordinator for the Texas Well Owner Network program out of AgriLife Extension. We go around the state, screen water well samples for coliform bacteria, nitrates, look at the salinity levels, and in certain locations across the state, we do look at arsenic levels for those water samples. So we are not regulatory, we are just a educational, give you information type program. Okay, our desired outcomes for our program is to change the knowledge, awareness, attitude, and action of a private well owner and improve the private well management to safeguard the health and protect the water resources. We know water resources are limited. We realize that a lot of these communities out here, I was a groundwater district manager before I came into this project in Real County and Edwards County, so Lakey, Rock Springs, Camp Wood. Anybody knows where those 3 little great metropolises are at? Okay, we don't have a whole lot of water there, so we want to protect every drop we can. San Antonio is looking for water. Real County doesn't have enough to give them. Edwards County does not have enough to give them, so we want to protect what we have there locally. Okay, it's amazing how many people are buying ranchettes out in Edwards County, Texas. They go out there, they think they're going to go hunting, and they're going to use that vast 10 acres to do all kinds of great things. Okay, we know that that's not feasible, that's really not realistic. So whenever we have the average water well in the district I was in is 300 foot deep and probably 3 to 5 gallons per minute. So what can you do with 3 to 5 gallons per minute? Not a whole lot. Okay, Texas Well Owner Network, established in 2011. We've had over 9,500 participants in our workshop, over 200 events. We've covered 166 counties. My goal for this project is to have a color in every county in the state, so that proves that we did a program in every county in the state, because everybody needs to know about water wells. There's at least 1 well in every county. Okay, some of you groundwater district managers that I see in the room, my other goal for this project is to go to the counties that do not have groundwater districts, because they do not know what the rules and regulations and what's going on with groundwater. So that's a key component for us moving forward. Okay, we do offer 2 kinds of programs with the Texas Well Owner Network program. We offer a well-educated program. It's a 4-hour. We do water well screening, as I told you before. We talk about aquifers, we talk about well basics, we talk about septic systems, because if you have a well, generally speaking, you do have a septic on your property. We talk about water quality, we talk about water treatment options. We have a 1-hour program called Well Informed. It is a water screening campaign. We talk about the results that we saw from the water samples that were brought to us, and we talk about wellhead protection. And some of the information you're gonna hear from me is probably the same thing that Adam's gonna talk to you later about abandoned wells. That's a very common problem across water districts across the state. Okay, again, our water sample screening, E. coli bacteria, nitrates, total dissolved solids, arsenic is location driven. Presidio County has an arsenic issue. If y'all go towards Midland, Odessa, Andrews, Seminole, there's some problems there. Down in the valley towards Zapata and Starr County, we've got arsenic issues. So those are some of our major emphasis at this point, because amazingly, a lot of people are drinking that arsenic water, not realizing that it is there. So that's one of our push, is to make sure that those folks are aware in those areas. Educational program, we do explain the results. We give everybody a sheet that tells us what, or tells them what results we do see from the water sample they bring to us. So we try to, it's a very big outreach type program. Okay, one thing, or something that we really talk about a lot in our programs, is the necessity of having a well log for your well. You've got that well, it tells you vital information about where the well's located. It tells you when that well was drilled. It tells us who drilled that well. It tells us the geology that's going in that. As we know, there are lots of fly-by-night people that work on wells, that drill wells across the state that may not be licensed, and Adam's probably gonna talk about licenses later on today. But if we don't know how deep our well is, we could easily be taken advantage of whenever somebody is servicing our private well. So this information, get with your groundwater district, talk with Greg, he'll tell you how to find those well logs. We got a couple other managers that I see in the room. I'm sure you get those calls all the time about about well logs. In my book, this is probably one of the most important pieces of paper that comes along with your well. Your driller is required by law to submit a copy to the groundwater district, to the state, and before you write the check to that driller, make him give you a copy of the well log. Okay, does construction matter for a well? I'm probably taking Adam's talk here. So, poor construction does make a difference. You can see on the picture here, see the concrete slab right there, ground level is here. Okay, the pump went out on this well, rig backed up, gonna try to pull the pump out. They pulled the whole system out of the ground. Is that a problem? Adam, is that a problem? Just a little bit. Okay, so we don't know what damage was done underground, but we can figure that there's probably contamination issues. The casing is probably disconnected. We've got all kinds of problems. So completion standards that the state sets, that all of us districts adopt, is something that is very important. So we need that annular cement holding that casing in the ground, keeping it in place. Okay, very important to me. Again, well logs are very important. Any kind of water test that you get, whether it's through our program or you send it to a private lab or the Texas A&M Soil or Water Lab, keep that thing in a folder that you know where it is located. Any kind of maintenance or repair information. My soapbox is, when your kids come home this Thanksgiving or Christmas, show them how to work the well. At some point in the future, you're either going to give them that property or you're going to sell the property. So let the kids know how to operate the well, know where the valves are at, know how to reset everything, because they've never paid attention to it. They know that their water comes on when the faucet comes on, that's it. So teach them how to use that water well. Okay, don't use or store fertilizers, pesticides. Okay, y'all are having temperatures fluctuations out here right now from the 50s to the 90s. Okay, y'all are within 30, 45 days of your first freeze. Get all that crap out of your well house. Get the well house ready, winterized. It's easier to do it now when it's a little warm. There's nothing worse than being cold and wet in a well house. So do it today while we have a chance. Get all this debris off. Notice the wellhead here, gas can sitting here. When the gas can falls off, it's right on top of your wellhead. You're contaminating the well really quickly. One likes to hide underneath debris on the ground. Y'all probably got a few of them out here. Rats, rattlesnakes, okay? Bull snakes. You may move that chair and a bull snake slithers out at you, but if in your state of trying to get away from it, you don't know if it's a bull snake or a rattlesnake, not a good thing. So get all that stuff off the ground, make sure your well house is clean, keep all these chemicals, keep all the possible contaminants away, and be ready for winter. It is coming quicker than what we think, okay? Conduct monthly thorough visual inspections for cracks, soil disturbances, flooding damage. Again, it's easier to fix things now. Snowmageddon hit out here, right? 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. How many of us actually got a licensed pump installer or licensed plumber to go out there and fix that stuff, or do we go to the barn and bring every PVC fitting and put it back together because the wife said we need water tonight, fix this thing? So I see a couple of Aggie engineers in the room. You know who you are. I'm not gonna call out names or Leon. We know there's a few Aggie engineers. So occasionally we do need a licensed person to come out there and fix our Aggie engineering. Again, if we ever try to sell property, there's codes that have to be met in a lot of these counties. So some of our Aggie engineering may not be up to specifications that the buyers would want to have. So let's get those things fixed. Okay, we do check for coliform bacteria, E. coli bacteria. We do an absence or presence test. We used to run slides to see what kind of things we could grow that were nice and cool, but now we use a 100 milliliter bottle. We put media in there, put them in the incubator for 24 hours. We look at the color change. If it still looks like water when it goes in and comes out, we're good to go. If it turns any shade of yellow or orange, we know that there is coliform bacteria. We put the samples underneath a black light. If it fluoresces, it glows, that means that we've got E. coli. We probably see, at this point, probably 40 to 50% of the samples we run are positive for coliform bacteria across the state. Probably 5 to 8% are positive for E. coli bacteria. So very common across the state of Texas. Okay, we tell everybody that every time you have your well serviced, or anytime that the well is open, we want to make sure that that well is treated, shock chlorinated, whatever it is that your pump installer, the local people do. We want to make sure that that thing is taken care of, properly serviced, so that we don't have contamination issues. We all realize that a private well is a closed loop system. From the time water enters the pump to the time you open the faucet, there should be no way for bacteria to get into that. So if we do see bacteria that we know that we could possibly have an issue, and I'll tell you, a lot of our problems or the positive hits we get are from us and not taking samples correctly. Okay, again, we do have, typically speaking, if you have a well, you're gonna have septic. Our septic expert, here's his key points, his highlights. Inspect your septic system annually. Pump the system as needed every 3 to 5 years for a usual family. If you're there, 1 or 2 people, it may be 7 or 8 or 10 years. If you're a big family, 5 or 6 kids, it could be every year, every 2 years. Don't let it go forever. They do need to be properly maintained. Avoid the use of the garbage disposal. Don't use all the fats and greases do throw your system out of whack. Minimize the volume of household water. He says don't do all the laundry on Saturday. We know that's the day you're off and you have time to do it. Sporadically do your laundry throughout the week. That white water, or it causes white water rapids in your septic system whenever you repeatedly do 5, 10, 15 loads of laundry over a short amount of time. Don't dump any kind of paints or chemicals into drains or toilets. Anybody know whenever you have to see these things at the store, what septic safe means? What's y'all's idea? What do y'all think septic safe means? Y'all are a quiet crowd. Are y'all not awake this morning? Okay, so up here, he says, septic safe means that it won't harm the septic system. That's true to an extent, but what septic safe means on a label of a chemical or a toilet paper means that it will flow through a 4-inch piece of pipe. It does not mean it won't harm the septic system, it just means it flows through the pipe. So anybody use Rid-X in their septic? Okay, so the septic experts say you don't have to do that. If you stay regular, your septic stays regular. So your homework assignment for my septic guy, your homework assignment is go home, be regular, and you will take care of everything you have to do. Okay, protect the drain field from damage. Remember, that's not where the garden needs to go. That's not the parking lot for the family reunion. There is a reason that leach field is out there. Those pipes can easily be crushed. They're pretty close to the surface. Okay, separation from our well to our septic, a minimum of 50 feet, 100 feet from that drain or spray field. Typically, we want the well on a higher elevation than our septic or this drain field, right? And the reason we want that is because everything flows downhill. Okay, and I know Adam's gonna talk about this, but are there any of these in Reeves County? Greg could probably take us out to 2 or 3 of them right now if he really just wanted to show us. So abandoned wells are a major issue across groundwater districts, every district in the state has abandoned wells that we need to be working to get those fixed. Okay, 3 criteria for capping a well. Cap must fit tightly, be properly sealed to prevent surface pollutants from entering the well. Cap should support 400 pounds to minimize the risk of a person falling into there. The cap should not be easily removed. A caliche rock is not a proper cap, right, Mr. TLR, sir? So, and with that, we did have a couple of samples come into Reeves County this week. What I noticed about the samples are the salinity levels are pretty high. They're above the threshold of what human consumption would be. If it's above 500 parts per million, we as humans don't like to consume it because it's very salty tasting. We don't want to do that. I think the average was about 1,700 here. So really high. Nitrate levels were not there. Arsenic was not there. Bacteria, we did not have coliform bacteria or E. coli in any of the samples, but the salinity was pretty high. And with that, I will entertain any questions. Yes, sir.
What is the origin of the arsenic you're finding in the waters?
We think it's just the arsenic that is in the aquifer is just, you probably know better where it's coming from than I do, but it's aquifer driven. It's nothing that we've done or can do to change it. We just, like I say, our program is, we know that there are pockets of it. We just want to make the folks that are drinking that water are aware. We did come across a pocket in Starr County where some of those colonias, that's their primary drinking source. It's off the charts with the arsenic levels, and they're still using that water as their primary drinking water supply. So it's really concerning to us, and we're trying to educate them and figure out how to treat that they can afford. Yes, sir.
How do your well streams work logistically? Does somebody take samples briefly?
Okay, so what we do is I get in contact with your county extension office and your groundwater district office if you have them. I will put together a flyer and a press release for those entities to pass out. I will send out collection instructions and collection bottles and bags, and we will set a date. Like for this one, we said it takes me 2 days to do a program because day one, people bring samples into the extension office or the groundwater district office. I come in and process those samples, put them in an incubator. 24 hours later, I know if the bacteria is absent or present, and then we have an educational meeting, like say either the 1 hour type program or the 4 hour type program. But I have all the equipment in the vehicle that I've got. We're a portable lab basically. We're not a certified lab. That's what we call our stuff, screening, not a lab test, because we are not certified. If we see stuff, we feel comfortable with the nearly 10,000 samples that we've run. Our samples, we feel very comfortable with the results we see. But if we see E. coli, we're gonna tell you, probably do another test to make sure that it's not an operator error. Again, a lot of times whenever we take the samples, it is an error by the person taking that collection. We didn't know that the dog licked the faucet. We took it out of the kitchen sink and didn't clean the aerator. So a lot of it can be us. But we feel comfortable saying, hey, we saw a problem, we need to treat this well, we need to get another test to make sure everything is good with it. So, is that yes, sir?
Didn't see anything on there about gray water here.
I am a firm believer of it. If you've got gray water and your county permits it,
Everything I've got gray water.
so take that washing machine water and so take that and put it on the yard. There's no reason I would, that's why I said, don't run that water through your septic. If you can put it on the yard, I'm a firm believer in that.
Are there any rules on it?
It varies county to county, so I can't speak to Reeves County. I would think that as rural as y'all are, there's probably not any rules on the books, but I would say ask Greg to figure that out and ask the Commissioner's Court, because they're the ones that's going to be able to speak to that better than, because there are certain restrictions in counties, but a lot of these rural counties, Real County, there was no rules that I know of. Edwards County, there's no rules, so it varies from place to place. All right, thank y'all so much.